Hi, my name is Annette Alicandu, and I'm going to be talking about Logic X Pro today. Logic X Pro is a digital audio workstation for Mac devices only. It's used by producers, musicians, songwriters, professional studios, as well as at-home beat makers. It allows you to record, edit, and mix audio, as well as many other things like create beats, and we're going to get into that soon. Logic X Pro, as I mentioned before, is a DAW for Mac users only. It provides tools for editing audio and allows mixing and mastering. It provides over 21,000 loops. And some features that Logic X Pro has is the quantizer, which is basically a time correction feature where you could set what you've already recorded, say on MIDI, and quantize it to 16th notes or 8th notes or whatever you'd like, really. There's a new feature that Logic X Pro came out with a couple of months ago, which is called Live Loops. And Live Loops lets you arrange and play with your creation. So, whatever you have created in loops or loops that you can take from Logic Pro that they provide, and you can use them in real time, not in, say, a performance, but it you can use it in real time in a grid of cells. Logic Pro also has a Logic Remote feature, which is new. A, about a couple months ago, it came out, and you can use it on your phone. So let's say you want to run live loops and you want to use it on your phone, you're allowed to do that. You can do that now. You weren't able to do that, say, with Logic Pro 9 or even a couple of updates ago. So this is a relatively new feature, which is great because it lets you work in time and right then and there. There's another feature called Drummer where so you'll create your music and you'll have your track and you can use Drummer as a way to create a drum pattern for your song or your creation, whatever. And what Drummer is, there are over 6 different drummers that have been pre-recorded already, and you can choose what style you want it to be, what if you want them to play softly, if you want them to play loudly, and they'll if you want a um, complicated drum pattern, so they kind of give that to you, and that'll be like, say you're recording a new song and you want some new ideas for the drum pattern, the drummer is really good for that. And even just giving it to, say you want an actual drummer, so you want to live record a drummer, you can use Drummer, which is the feature, as a reference to what you want. Another feature that I really enjoy now that I'm using Logic is the Logic Apple support team. I actually had a problem with Logic a couple weeks ago, and so I went on to Apple and I called them and I was like, listen, this and this is going on. And so I had to wait for like 5 minutes on the phone, but 5 minutes is nothing. And they were actually just able to solve my problems, which is really good and really helpful. So, what do you need to get Logic Pro? You need to have a Mac. So, and the download alone requires 1.1 gigabytes. It's a one-time purchase of $199.99, basically $200. If you have a previous version of Logic, the upgrade to Logic X Pro is free. And you can also purchase the Pro App Bundle for the same price, so $200. And it includes not only Logic, but it includes Main Stage 3, Final Cut Pro, Compressor, and Motion. That's the pack that I got. Right here, I have the link to Pro App Bundles, and I'll link it in the description below as well. So now let's talk about the legal parameters. So when you're using Logic Pro, you are able to make money out of the beats that you create. The beats that you create. Um, it's licensed for you to modify, publish, and distribute what your art, what you create, and but you cannot use an individual loop for commercial use. So, let's say Logic provides you with with a loop. You're gonna use one loop. You cannot use that loop and sell it to somebody else because that's their property. But if you take that loop and you um, add your own things to it, not just the loop in itself, you can create. You can use it for um, for commercial reasons. The intellectual property rights belong to the respective content owner, so that would be you if you create that, not just the individual loops. Remember, that's important. And so for Logic Pro, you will receive the minor updates. So right now it's Logic Pro X, Logic Pro 10, and the minor updates would be like Logic Pro 10.1, point 2, point 3. But if it's going from Logic Pro to 11, they might charge you for that. It's not, so you're not guaranteed to get it for free. Um, you can use Logic Pro in recording sessions, and you can use the drummer so the drummer is where the drummer plays its own their own beat, so they create it, and you can choose how complex it is, but you don't choose the individual like sound of the bass drum, sound of the snare. In Drum Synth plugin, you can choose what you want the snare to sound like, but you will create your own beat, as well as in Drum Machine Designer, you will create the beat like electronically. Logic Pro is used for creating beats as well. It provides a lot of loops, so that's really useful. And for mixing and mastering, it's also very helpful, and editing music as well. So these are different ways that you can make money off of using Logic Pro. So let's say you make a song out of it after producing the track, or let's say you take it to a producer, or you are a producer, you will make money off of using that track that you produced in Logic Pro. You can sell beats that are made on Logic Pro, as long as it's not only that loop, only the Logic loop that they provide to you. You can record audio for different people. Let's say someone needs you to record their song. They want you to record a voiceover. Using Logic X Pro will help you get that revenue. Also, digital play income from SoundExchange as well. So here are some pluses and minuses to Logic Pro. Everybody has different opinions on what DAW to use, but here are some positive things from Logic Pro. So let's say you're using GarageBand as like a beginner type of thing, as an introduction into recording and editing music. All the files from GarageBand will transfer to Logic. So if you already have creations in GarageBand, it will be able to transfer to Logic. Often you don't need to buy third-party instruments because Logic provides so many different choices. It's also extremely user-friendly. For example, the Quick Help button is, you select that button, the Quick Help button, and anything that you hover over, it will tell you what it is. So let's say as simple as hovering over the play button, it'll describe to you press spacebar or play to play. And it's really helpful. because it shows you what everything is and the description of everything. Uh, Logic also allows you to transfer individual stems, unlike GarageBand. So if you're going from GarageBand to Logic, you will be able to, but GarageBand does not let you export individual stems. Now, some negatives to Logic Pro is that it is limited to only Mac platform. So if you don't have a MacBook or a Mac desktop, you won't be able to use Logic. Also, when you're exporting a score into XML, you have to further format the score. So you usually have to edit a bunch of things. So the score is not really so reliable when you create something. And lastly, for the negatives, when editing in Logic is a little more tedious compared to, say, Pro Tools or Ableton. This is just for the editing of audio. And I say this because I've seen a lot of different people say the same thing. On YouTube as well, I saw a lot of comparison videos, and I'll link those as well. And yeah. Here's 3 different video references that I wanted to put here. Pro Tools versus Logic, and this will tell you, hey, should I use Pro Tools or should I use Logic? Like, songwriters are most likely to use Logic. It's just a better fit for most songwriters. And this is a link to Drummer Tool, YouTube video on how to use it, and here's how to use Live Loops and Logic Remote as well. And in conclusion, Logic Pro is a good DAW for me because first, I'm just starting off, and I do have a Mac, and I use the Education Pro App bundle, where I use MainStage 3 for live performances. And I'm also new, as I said before, to recording music, so it's really friendly user, and I really like that. Now, I wouldn't use it if I didn't have a Mac, because I won't be able to use it. And yeah, this Logic Pro is a good DAW. Here are some of the references. I got the information straight from Apple itself. They provide almost everything on their website, and then I just got some like testimonial stuff from this website here. And here the license agreement, which took me a little while to read, but it was good. And yeah, that's Logic X Pro.